Hi guys, let's talk about how you add a client in Genesis. Most of the time you start in quote control because that is your first point of contact with your customer is the quote, but there may be times when you just need to add a policy into Genesis outside of exporting it from the quote control section. So let's learn how to do that. I'm at my main screen and I'm going to click the Add Client button. This takes me to a blank profile and I will walk you through some of these fields. A lot of this is standard data entry that we're capturing so that we can know things like the business name or the type of business for a customer, even capture things like their federal ID. You also have this button called More Business Detail if you have a commercial policy where you can enter even more information. I can indicate that this person is doing business as on this screen. I can also determine whether it was referred by a business source or a personal customer, and I can track source information over here to the side. I can determine what language this customer speaks, and I can even determine what country this client belongs to. So if you have both US and non-US customers, you can indicate that here. I can export this back to quote control with this button, and I can even capture a photo for my insured right here in this section. Over here we're going to track information like the status of our policy. If a customer becomes inactive, I can change that here. If I want to track a quote in here so that I can print forms and other functionalities, I can export this from quote control and still make the status a quote. I can also have a status of prospect or source in this section. If I have multiple locations, I can assign this client to a specific location. I can also track things like the personal info for this particular customer. The first and last name of my first insured, my second insured. I can track my address. I can track cell phone numbers and carriers. And I have other spaces for things like work and home phone. You also have the ability to change these labels. So if there is some other piece of information that you'd like to capture here, all you have to do is place the cursor in this particular section and you can change the label field. I can also track social security numbers, dates of birth for each insured on this client profile. I can do things like capture occupation too. One thing you guys should note is that in Genesis, if there's a field like this occupation and you don't see an option listed, you can begin typing in this field and it will let you add it. I can capture email addresses. I can even email or text from this client screen, and I can also create email templates from here, which you guys can learn about in another tutorial. If this person is not rated on this policy, I can indicate that with a check mark to the side, and I can also indicate if this person has a bad address. If I place a check mark here, it will, the next time someone pulls up this profile, it will let them know that they have a bad address and you can get the correct one from the client. This is also the screen where I will be able to look at these tabs at the bottom and indicate what policies a client has. I can add policies from here. I can do a variety of things, which we will also go over in other tutorials. I can look at a customer's suspenses, which are any to-do items that I've created for this client. I can look at premium finance information if I've captured that here. I can store claims. I can store their social media, and I can even link this profile to another profile, which we'll talk about in other tutorials. So that is the quick and easy on how to add a client in Genesis. Thanks for taking the time to listen, and I hope this helps.